Hi, this is Troy Jordan. I'm the author of Movable Guitar. What I've done on this guitar today to kind of demonstrate some things is I actually detuned the E and the A string and the high E string. So if I play those, you can hear they kind of rattle a little bit. But I did that just to emphasize the three strings. You'll hear if I don't strum on just these three strings, you'll hear that kind of wangy wang kind of sound. So for these exercises, I just wanted to show you the effect of just using these three strings, the D, G, and B strings. So starting at the top, just an open strum gives you a G major chord, and if you bar the first fret, like I'm doing here, it's a G sharp or a flat major. Then we have an A major, a B flat major, B major, C major. Notice that the B flat major is on the first dot of the guitar, the C major is on the second dot of the guitar, which is fret 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? And then the next dot up is D major. The next dot up is E major. And one above that dot is F major. And then another octave is the double dot, which puts you back at G major. So I didn't play all the chords in there, but if we go down chromatically, we go G, G flat, F, E, E flat, D, D flat or C sharp, C, B, B flat, A flat, and then back to G, open. So that's talked about in the book, but something that wasn't talked a lot about in the books, this is a little bit of a kind of an extra lesson here, is that for each of those there's also a minor shape, and I think it's talked about a little bit, and there's some examples. But the first minor shape, it's similar to playing an A minor chord. So you're going to play up a step on the D and the G notes. You're playing, in this case, up a step from an open string. So we're going to play fret 2, and then on the first fret you'll play just up a half a step. That creates a very similar shape to playing an A minor chord. In fact, it is the same shape. It's just in this case, since I've detuned these other strings, we're just having the triad from it. But I can move up from that. And what's interesting about this is it's the same fret locations as the majors that we just talked about. So like if we wanted to play an A major chord, we just bar that, put an A minor, then we move to that minor configuration. And so that means to play a B flat minor, you just play on the first dot, the C minor, the second dot, or the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret, 7th fret is a D minor, 9th fret is an E minor, which of course there are other ways of playing an E minor, but with just these three strings, this is one way to play an E minor, an F minor, going up a half step. And what's interesting here is you don't really have an opportunity to play a G minor in the first octave, but up here on the double dots you can play a G minor chord in this configuration. And you can also play a G sharp minor. And that's one fret above the double dot. And then that takes you back to your A minor would be the next one, which is where we started at. You could obviously play that up an octave as well, but on this guitar it's a little bit hard. I've got some other guitars where it's easier to get to that. But yeah, that takes me back down to the normal root A minor there on the guitar. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Now building on this idea, I was thinking about this, that you could actually play all the diatonic chords. So let's say we wanted to play all the diatonics in the key of G, then we could start with open G major, and then a 2 would be A minor, right? Because G, then A minor. And then to play a B minor, you just go up a step, B minor, and then you'd go up a step to, a half a step to a C major, which is just played as a bar, and then a D major, played as a bar. Okay, and then after that we go to an E minor, which we talked about earlier. Now we're going to look at something different. This is the diminished. So with diminished, in this case we're playing a G diatonic progression. So we're going to have an F sharp diminished, which is played with this configuration. And this might be a little bit hard to see, so I'm going to try to move in. So in this case, I'm playing on the D string, and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10th fret. Playing that note with my first finger, and on the same fret on the B string I'm playing this note, and then I'm on the G string on the 11th fret I'm playing this note, which gives us a diminished chord, F sharp, and then open, or we can play a bar on the G. If we want to go up the octave, or completely open going back. So that configuration. Now what's interesting, if I start like say halfway up the fret, then let's say, you know, we open string is a G major, it's a B flat major, C major. So let's say I wanted to play a C major diatonic progression, just moving through all the diatonic chords. Then starting with this, the C is going to be just a bar chord, C, then I'll play a D minor, then up step to an E minor, and then up a half step with a bar chord to an F major. And now my next chord is going to be a G major. I could either bar that or play open G with these 3 strings. And then my next chord after that would be an A minor for the 6 in the key of C, which is a normal A minor. And then this next one, the diminished, which will be the B diminished. It's pretty easy to play there. So in this case, on the D string, I'm playing the 3rd fret with my first finger. On the B string, I'm playing the 3rd fret with my 2nd finger. And then on the G string, I'm playing the 4th fret with my 3rd finger. And that takes us back to C major. Now I do want to point out, to form that diminished chord, one way you can think about a diminished chord, it's going to be the upper note in that diminished chord in this configuration is going to be a half step below the root in the key, and then you'll lower the other 2 fingers a half step beyond that, and that'll give you your diminished sound. So it's almost like you're taking a, in this case, it's like you're taking a B major chord, and then but lowering these other 2 notes. So your root note is on the G string, and you drop the other 2 notes a half step. So the other 2 notes, and the root being the ring finger. So that same configuration works with all keys. Those are not necessarily easy things to progress through, but in some cases it might work. So like if we said C chord, and then we go to G, that's pretty easy. Open. And if we want to go to 6, which is A minor, and then if this, you know, you're playing a lot with like going from C to E minor, minor. Well, obviously, normally those are real easy transitions to make. So this may not be the easiest example for using this. But, you know, like if you're playing back in the key of G, you go G, C, D. So that's a real easy progression. And then to access the 2 in G is very easy, of course. And to access the, there's the 4, there's the 5, which is D, in the key of G. And then to access that E minor, which is normally very easy to access elsewise. So this gives you a couple of examples of you know, diatonics. So let's look at the B flat. So B flat, the 4 is F. Sorry, the 4 is E flat. That's just kind of building on, then back to what I showed earlier with the key of G. G, 4 is C, 5 is D, 4 is C. So then if we go to the key of A, so A, D is 4, B is 5, and then the key of B flat, and then E flat, and F. So with some practice you can kind of get used to finding your way around there, and then realizing, okay, the 2, in the key of B flat is C minor. The nice thing about this is, in this case, you know C major is that second dot on the fretboard. You know that C minor is just the same position, just different configuration. So if we go back and we say, okay, B major, C minor, D minor, E flat major, F major, and now we can go to G minor. And then B diminished. Or sorry, A diminished, my bad, A diminished. And back to B flat major. Now let's go through it with the A major diatonic. So based on A, so A diatonic, so it's A major chord, B minor chord, C sharp minor chord, D major, E major, F sharp minor. Takes us back to this one. It's a little bit hard to play the this one. It's actually easy to play, but it's you got to think about it a little bit differently. So we go from a F sharp minor. Remember, we were going back to a A major. So to play the diminished, all you need to do is just play the A flat note with an open strum, because that'd be the equivalent of having these other two lowered. So that's a flat diminished, and then back to A major. So this one's kind of a little bit odd compared to the others. Kind of breaks the pattern a little bit, but it's the same thing. So A flat diminished, A. All right, let me show you a couple more here. So we already went through B flat, A. We went through G, starting with it open. Let's do A flat. It's a little bit different. Okay, so A flat major, B flat minor, C minor, C minor, C sharp major, D sharp major, sharp major, F minor, F minor. And now we get to G diminished, which takes us back to A flat major. We could play that A flat major up here. it can also be played down here. And you can hear when I'm getting sloppy on playing my triads, you start to hear that kind of sound when I hit that string that I've loosened up. Those are my loosened up strings. They sound a little funky. Well, I hope this has been helpful. This is kind of teaching you how to think about your fretboard in terms of triads. So we know that these 3 strings, you can get major chords out of them. You can easily get minor chords out of them. And now with that, so with this configuration, you can get a minor chord, which is very similar to what you would use for like an A minor chord, very similar configuration. And then you can get a diminished chord by using fingering configuration that might, for you, feel similar to like if you played a D major chord, you would just move you'd move your fingers over, shift over fret, and move that over where your second finger is on the B string on the 2nd fret, which is a C. So in this case, that configuration, that creates a diminished. So your shapes, you got major, minor, and diminished. And with those 3 configurations, you can play all of the diatonic chords, and you can cover, with those configurations, you can cover all 12 keys with that on the fretboard. Some of those you have to wrap around, like when you get up above the double dot, to prevent you from sounding like a ukulele, or if you're on a guitar like this one that kind of has a miniaturized fretboard, you have to come back around and continue playing from the end of the fretboard, closer to the headstock. So I hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to posting some more tutorials and examples of things that kind of illustrate things from the book, Movable Guitar. If you haven't bought the book yet, it's not too expensive. There are several versions of it on Amazon.com, and I'll probably put a link in the comments for this so that you can find that easier if you need to. But anyways, have a good day. Be blessed.